What's up, everyone? It's Tyler with Mom's Basement MMA, and my next guest likes to fight all the other guests I've had on, and so I had to have her on the show because she's a freaking killer. We're gonna get right into it. Natty Ice Schlesinger. Natalie, how are you doing this afternoon? And how was your trip in Russia? I know you spent some time over there. Why don't we start there and talk about what you were doing over there? I know nobody voluntarily goes with Bill anywhere, so there had to have been some reason why you went halfway around the world with Bill.
I didn't know he was coming. He just showed up. No,
Yeah, go figure.
no. What's up, Tyler? Russia was cool. It was a really cool experience. I knew it was gonna be when I was like, it was like late at night. I was at my house and Shorty Sean Santella, Shorty Rock, he called me and he was like, "Are you vaccinated?" I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Do you want to go to Russia?" I was like, "Yes." For what? And he was like, I was like, "Am I gonna fight there?" And he was like, No, you're gonna corner." And I was like, "Who am I cornering?" He's like, "Me." And I was like, "Yes, let's do it." Like, I remember just being like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." So I was excited like from the beginning, and it was a cool experience. It was really interesting. Like, we flew to like Turkey and had like an 8-hour layover in Turkey, and then we had to go from there to like Rostov. And it was different there. It was very different. It was almost like felt like we went back in time almost. Like, it was very gloomy when we got there, like foggy. It was really cool. And as soon as we get out the airport, like, the brave guys already have cameras in Shorty's face asking him for interviews. And so it was like 5 in the morning when we got there. It was 5 a.m. We had been traveling for almost probably like the whole day. And they immediately were like asking for interviews and stuff, and it was a really crazy experience, because I'm sure you heard about like how we were originally just going to fight like sixth, seventh fight on the card, and then he got moved to the main event. That was really crazy.
I heard there's a cancellation, and then he had to take an opponent like on a few hours' notice. Like, it
Yeah.
was insane.
Yeah, so like he fought, so the people in the main event were like Ali. I don't want to say his last name, I'm gonna be terrible at it. But it was Ali and Shorty Torres, and Shorty Torres and my coach Shorty actually fought each other to draw. So
Hmm.
when Shorty Torres fell out of the main event, they offered it to Shorty, my coach Shorty. And it was just crazy because it was kind of like coming full circle. Like, that fight was a draw, but we felt like it really wasn't. So
Right.
it was cool to see that he would get another opportunity, but at the same time, he's was fighting Ali on like nearly 24 hours notice. We had to figure out everything with his contract first. So we got the call, and then they're like already trying to interview him for statements about it, and we were like, "Whoa, like, we didn't even, make the contract yet. We didn't even sign anything yet." So it was really crazy that happened. But yeah, like, when he originally took the fight too, like the original fight, it was like on 3 weeks notice, and he took it when he was out cornering Sarge in Las Vegas. So like, he barely had enough time to train for that, and then to switch opponents on like nearly 24 hours notice. Like, he's just the man for that. Like, it was
A
really,
lot of people wouldn't have done that.
oh my god,
and
100%.
and and, and I wouldn't blame anybody under those circumstances to be like, no, I haven't had I no, I'm not doing that this late notice. So
Yeah,
props to him.
even I don't even think I would do that. It would take a lot probably, but so it was really just cool to be riding with him through that. And he was just like, everybody loved the fact that he stepped up on such short notice to take the main event spot. And it was really, really a cool experience. Like, the whole weigh-ins were set up really cool, and then the way the fight ended was obviously like really unfortunate.
Right.
But he got hit to the back of the head. Like, it's clear. Like, you could see it. And I took a picture of it, like, in the locker room. After we walked out, I took a picture of the back of his head, because he had a big lump right on the back of
Hmm.
his head. We're like, what's that from? That can't be from anything else. It was
Right.
clear. And I'm so glad I had a picture of that, because I think he's trying to dispute it now with them, and just at least get a no contest, because that's such a
Right.
bad look, the
Right.
way it went down. It's just,
Yeah, it's definitely not a good look. And that is unfortunate. You go all that way for the bout to end in the way that it did. I hope that works out. I personally didn't see the fight. I just saw that it was a no contest, or I'm sorry, I just saw that it was an early stop.
yeah.
And typically it's like, okay, well, there's usually more to the story than that. So yeah, I'll be really interested to see what transpires with that. But just talking about Russia in general and the culture over there, they're like hardcore about like wrestling, about like all combat sports. Like, did you feel it was kind of like in a way set up like almost like how we would view like baseball or like the NFL here in the United States? Like, they're really hardcore about like combat sports over there. Like, did you just was it a different atmosphere? Like, just was the media attention, all that other stuff, like kind of weird?
Yeah, it was like a little weird. Like you think like they're a little cold because they don't like smile as much as us,
Right.
you know, and like and obviously it was really tough because they speak Russian. We don't know what they're saying most of the time, so that was interesting. But like the people, like most of the fighters on the card were all Russian, and like
Right.
I mean, yeah, you could feel that they're hardcore and stuff, but at the end of the day, like you see, they do things the same as us. They don't have like they train just like us, you know. So like there might be like an aura around them because they're Russian. They're probably really good at wrestling, you know.
Right.
But they're still like they still are like genuine nice guys, I'm sure, because I didn't speak to many of them because it's hard with the language barrier, but everybody that we met there was pretty cool with like helping us translate like around the city. Like we would walk around and stuff, and like they know a little bit of English, I guess. I don't know if they learned it in school or what, but most of them do know some words in English so they could tell what we were saying. So they would like help us translate, and they kind of thought like we were a little funny because we don't really know things, you know. So like we got
Right.
along with everybody, and everybody was a lot nicer than I thought. Because you know, you go in a country and you don't speak their language, you're thinking they're like, oh, these dumb idiots, like we don't want
Hmm.
to talk to you. But they're actually really nice. Like they helped us, and that was cool.
I'm glad that you had that experience. I think that's really cool. Not only to have that experience in like a coaching capacity, but to like just have that experience as a human being, to get out there, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, see the world, and just see that. Like the amount of times like I've been abroad, like I always when I came back home, I was always like, wow, I like appreciate what I have a lot more.
Yeah.
And and it's just one of those places like I think everyone should have to spend some time in Russia. I myself haven't, but I'd like to one day just to experience it. I think it would be a really cool experience.
It's cool. It's nice. Like they had a lot of parks everywhere. Like we would walk left or right out of the hotel. There was parks everywhere, and yeah, it is cool because I've never really been like to a European country. I've never really been like overseas like that. So
Sure.
it was a really cool experience to be there. Yeah, I loved it. It was fun.
Well, for me, this is a really cool experience because you're somebody I've wanted to have on my show for a really long time. I called you out, and I kind of want to like set the stage a little bit. Like the post I made about you on Instagram didn't do it justice. You are like I was doing homework, so I had Ashley Barrett on my show. I love Ashley. Doing homework on her, going through every single fight of hers that she's done, I come across the fight that you two had, and I was just blown away. I was just like, wow, like this girl's really good. Like, I probably wrote your name down like on like a post-it note somewhere, and then was just moving on and getting ready for my show with Ashley. And then a few weeks later, I'm getting ready to do a show with Mariah Castro, and you pop up again.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this fight too. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm like, okay, this is the same person. I know it is. I was like, I'm hitting this person up. I was like, this person is fantastic. Like, I'm really impressed. And then I went into this wormhole. I think you had just fought Sandy right around that time when I like started finding out about you. When I found out about you, I think that fight got uploaded maybe like a week or two after like I'd already known I was going to hit you up, and then that fight showed up, and then I watched that one too. And you are somebody that just is so good at everything. Like it's really really difficult for me to like look at you and say like, oh well, she does this, she shines really well in like jiu-jitsu or wrestling or striking. You are so damn good everywhere. I get really really excited talking about you and looking at your fights because it's one of those things where it's like I could see you fighting at 15, I could see you fighting at atom weight. You have like a lot of options for you, and you're so good, and like nobody outside of like your gym and like people in like New Jersey and stuff people don't know that, but now I know that. I know how good you are. I know Sandy knows that now. Nobody else knows, but like you're about to make a lot of noise, and I'm really, really excited about like what's to come for you in your future. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit. You made your professional debut earlier this summer. Can you talk, Natalie, a little bit about how did that bout come together, and how the hell did you end up fighting Sandy Chen? Because she is, for people who don't know who Sandy is, she's really bad too. She's like a really bad lady that
Yeah.
she doesn't lose, and like you beat her. So like you have this aura about you. You have this ability to like beat people that don't normally lose. Tell me about how that fight came together and just about your professional debut.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I should hire you as like my personal hype man because you just hype me up so much. But yeah, it's true. Like I try to take tough fights. I don't like taking fights against people with shitty records. And um so Sandy came like when actually when I was fighting Mariah, like I watched they fought they her Mariah and Sandy fought to a really close decision. And so preparing for the fight for Mariah, I watched that fight like 100 times. I would
Mm-hmm.
watch it when I was running on the treadmill. I would watch it every day. And I my coach Shorty was like, we're gonna fight both of them. He was like, we're gonna fight Mariah and then we're gonna fight Sandy afterwards. And I was like, okay, and I believe in myself, but at the same time I think Shorty sees a lot more in me. So when he tells me I could do something, I fully believe I can do it. Like he's smart in that way where he'll be honest with me about things. So him saying like we're gonna fight this girl and then this girl, I was like, okay, we could do this. So we actually like after I fought Mariah in April. It was like April 1st, I think. And then the whole time leading up to the Sandy fight, like we were trying to contact her. We were trying to get in touch with, I don't know if she has a manager or get in touch with her coach. Like Coach Shorty was doing all this for me, and he reached out to her on Instagram, and like we weren't hearing back from her for a little while. And I was waiting to hear back from her, and like we didn't know if she was fighting again or what. Like I don't know, but I heard she was might be going to the army and things like that. So I didn't know if
Oh
she was
wow.
occupied with that. Yeah. So I was just like kind of thinking maybe, and then eventually we heard back from her, and Art of War wanted to make it, and I think she likes fighting for Art of War. I think that's what it was because we were trying to get it done for CFFC, and then it was actually Art of War that was able to put the fight on. And I think like she held the title for Art of War. And it's funny because we proposed it as an amateur fight. We were like, we're gonna want to
Mm-hmm.
fight her because Shorty was like, let's do one more amateur fight. I was like, okay. And then she came back, and her coaches were like, we're actually trying to go pro this fight. And we were like, okay, let's go pro then. And they agreed to 105. I don't know, I forget what she fought Mariah at, but she
15, I think.
yeah, but like, so I've never fought at 105 either. This was both our first fights at 105, and I think we both did it pretty well. Like at weigh-ins, she looked fine. We were able to to handle the weight cut and all that. But yeah, that was a crazy fight because I knew she took Mariah to a close decision, and like I had just fought Mariah, so it was exciting to be able to fight her, and it just kind of came together perfectly. Like it was just the perfect opportunity for me to shine, and I've seen her fights. I watched all her fights. I've seen her finish girls, but I also think like when I'm about to fight somebody, I also think, they may have finished girls in the past, but they've never fought somebody like me. Like you could finish girls who are probably, I don't want to take anything away from that, but they might be a little bit easier to beat than I am. So that's what I like to imagine in my mind is like, okay, they've never fought somebody like me. They don't know what I'm capable of, how tough I am. So I don't come to lose, obviously. So that's how I felt about it.
You have really just taking your game to a totally different level. Like when you look back at your amateur career, people would look at it and be like, like, she's pretty good. Like, yeah, 5-3. Okay, whatever. But I look at it and I'm just like, the girls that you fought against, and like Barrett and then Castro, and
Yeah.
then Chang, like that doesn't happen. Like you're fighting the best, like really evolved. And like what's interesting is like fights that like when you first started, like you were an 18-year-old kid
Yeah.
when you first started, and you're fighting against girls that are like 30 some odd years old. That's insane. Like that is absolutely insane for you to like take an Ammy fight against somebody. with that big of an age difference. Like, it's one thing to do it when you're 24, 25, 26 years old. It's quite another to do it when you're like a 17, 18-year-old kid. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about just like looking back at your amateur career, because like it's very misleading. Like if you look at it, it's just like, okay, run of the mill, right? But you're not run of the mill. Like there's something very special about you. And can you talk a little bit about like just how you made your start in the ammy scene and just like how you really started taking it up a notch?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you look at my record, it's like an average record, but then when you look at the people I faced, it's like, okay, like I fought Devin Estes twice. She's a tough ass bitch, you know, and like
Right?
I fought a bunch of people who were really tough, even from the beginning, like you said, like even from 18 years old. And I was like, it's funny because I was reading, I think it was Eddie Alvarez who tweeted something recently about like I would much rather have like a average record of beating real people, the best of the best, than I have an undefeated record and it's questionable, because like that's
Right.
so true. There's so many people who like try to just get a good record and like I forget what the word is for it, but just fight people who like maybe aren't that good, and then you're like,
Cans. Fight a bunch of
yeah,
cans. Yeah.
yeah, basically, and like you're just like 8-0, but it's like, who did you really fight, you know? And that's something I always look at when I'm about to face a girl too. So yeah, when I fought, I couldn't wait to turn 18 to fight, because that's like the legal age in Jersey, you know. So when I fought my first fight, it was against a chick who was a lot older than me, and yeah, she was like, I think she was 30 or in her 30s, but
Yep.
I remember she had her kids there. I was like, oh, like this is a big age difference, you know. And I was 18, but yeah, I lost that fight. I didn't take it as seriously as I take it now. And then like I just try to improve a lot, you know. In the beginning I had a lot of trouble, like I would get nervous, things like that, but now I think I'm getting more comfortable with things, and like I'm just smarter. I'm just focused on the right things when coming into a fight, and that's what's really helped me grow and try to like. That's what the amateurs are for, right? Just to grow and try to be better once you turn pro. So now that I'm pro, I'm trying to do everything very smart, you know.
I hope more. I hope if you're on the amateur scene and you're listening to this show, that you like pause and like rewind like 3 or 4 times what Natalie just said, because she's fought the toughest opponents that were available. And we'll talk about like how matchmaking works, particularly just you being a female and like how shallow that pool is. It
Yeah.
is insane. Like it's insanely difficult to get fights as a girl, and but you're fighting the best. You're fighting the best of the best, and I feel like now that you're a professional, you've kind of, yes, you didn't have a lot of fights on the ammy scene, but like you fought the best of the best. And like you got all kinds of different looks. So like once you make that step to the professional level, like you're not going to see any surprises. Like it's like I've seen this before. I've done this before. And you know, and then you could just slowly build up your professional resume. I think you did it really smart.
Yeah, I mean, I owe it a lot to my coaches too. Like my coach, Coach James Meals, who's another one of my head coaches. He always like during amateurs, he always wanted to make me uncomfortable. So like if it was a fight where it was like, okay, we could fight at like for Dead Serious, which is a promotion I know very well. I play where I live, you know, in a place where I'm comfortable, or we could go all the way to Massachusetts into somebody else's hometown and fight them in this big arena. I was like, he would choose the one that would make me more uncomfortable, and it helped me grow a lot. It is risky because you obviously you don't want a losing record, or you don't want to lose too many fights because you want to eventually go pro. But at the same time, like I'm so glad I've had those experiences versus just playing everything safe and like where I'm comfortable. Because like I really try to make myself uncomfortable as much as possible, whether it's like the people I spar with, the people I train with, or like just like even doing things that just make me a little bit nervous. I always think about it and I'm like, well, this is good because next time I fight, maybe I won't be as nervous because I'm used to being uncomfortable this way, you know?
So the fight Natalie's alluding to, she's talking about the fight against Ashley Barrett. Ashley is from Massachusetts. So basically, Natalie had to go to New England to take this fight. And for people who don't know, like, check out the show I did with Ashley. She is very, very talented. She is definitely going to be a force just just like Natalie will be, and you'll see her at the next level. It's only a matter of time. She sells out shows. She fights. It was Cage Titans is the promotion that you were fighting with, and for this one in particular, you're going into her home crowd. You're fighting like a fan favorite. People want to see you lose. Like everyone's going for her. The only people who want you to win are maybe a couple people, like maybe your girlfriend showed up, maybe people from like your inner circle showed up. Like there's probably 3 or 4 people going for you, and then your coaches. That's it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you to win. How nervous were you before that fight? Like if there's like a fight to be uncomfortable, that to me, in looking at all your fights, it's like that's the one I circled. I'm like, that's the one where it's like, oh man, I'm definitely in enemy territory right now, and I'm fighting against like a really, really tough girl. So like, what was your mindset like when you're getting ready to fight Ashley?
So I felt like pretty good about it, to be honest, because Ashley at the time, we were surprised that she took the fight because I think I had like 5 fights at the time or 6 fights maybe at the time.
Me too.
And she took it at one she had one MMA fight. I think she had one Muay Thai fight and one MMA fight. But she was coming off of a first round finish where she like TKO'd the girl, and I watched that, and there wasn't a lot of tape on her to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we weighed in, I remember like, I sized everybody up. So I was sizing her up, and I'm like, okay, like I got this, and it's kind of funny because the biggest lesson I learned from that fight was to not underestimate people anymore. Because I remember looking at her and being like, I'm gonna dominate. Like I was like, I'm gonna beat this girl up. And like if you look at weigh-ins, like I was jacked I was like ready, and then I remember like we would be like staring at each other through the curtains when we were warming up and stuff, like waiting to fight because we had to wait for a while, and there were so many people there. Like there were like 3 tiers of seats, and it was such a cool venue, But I think like I really just focused on the cage. Like even walking out, I didn't look around. I just focused on what I was about to do. And then I remember like, so like I knew she was tough, but I was like, I'm tough too, like I really thought I was gonna win. And then when she was announced, I remember hearing how crazy the whole place went when they said her name, and I was like, oh, we're really in enemy territory now. I was
right.
Like, this is really what it is. But I still have confidence in myself. I like to play spoiler more than I think is almost more pressure when you're in your own hometown than it is when you're in somebody else's, because like you really have nothing to lose. Like everybody wants you to lose anyway, so give it your best shot. I like kind of playing the enemy. But when the fights first started, I remember thinking like, oh, this girl's real tough. Like she's stronger than she looked. She was stronger in the clinch than she looked. And like she was really determined. Like I remember the look on her face. I remember hearing the noises she was making in the clinch. Like she was really wanting to win, which like, can you blame her? We're in her hometown, And but I just, I don't know. I have confidence in myself. I'm very competitive. I knew she was younger than me. I didn't want to be beat by somebody younger than me. Um, so it was really a tough fight and a tough decision at the end. I thought I had it. Like as soon as we got the last takedown, my coaches came in after the fight was over, came in the cage. Like my coach was like, we definitely have it. Like we have it. Don't worry, And then when it was a split decision, I was like, oh man, we're in her hometown. They could
right
to her, and who's gonna object? Like who cares? It's an amateur fight, So yeah, that was a pretty crazy experience. But I like going into people's territories. Like I liked fighting Sandra for Art of War because I knew she was used to Art of War, and that's where she held the title. And I like when the odds are a little bit against me.
Ashley, and just speaking with her about you in that fight, and after it went down, she had nothing but like really complimentary things to say about you. She said you're really, really tough. It was a good fight, and then she basically said like, I want to fight people like her because that's the only way I'm going to get better. And she's really good. That's basically what she said. And in the aftermath of that fight, like there's a part of me where I'm just kind of like, I look at that and I'm like, that fight's gonna happen again at some point down the road. Like
I
it,
feel
it
like that might happen too, just because we're not anywhere near each other, we don't train together, I don't know if I think we fought at 110, so I don't know if she's gonna go, 105 or 115
right.
when she goes pro. It depends. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It was a tough fight. She's a tough chick. It was, and then she was young at the time. She's
Hmm.
obviously, I think she has some wins since then. I think what's her record now? Do you know?
So she got an armbar against Erica Valentine like in 20 seconds. That was the fight after you.
She has
Um,
quick finishes,
yeah, and she like yeah, it was like 19 20 seconds.
and
She's 2-1.
2-1. Okay. Yeah, and so she's a really tough girl, and like to be tough at that age already, and you have time to grow. It's like I can only imagine she's probably gonna get a lot better, and she's gonna do everything a lot better. I think her brother's in the UFC, which I didn't know at the time, but I think
Really?
yeah, Peter Barrett, I think his
No
name.
shit, they're related?
Yeah,
I didn't know
I
that.
think I'm like not sure. I don't know. Like I don't want to say anything wrong, and then I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but I do
Well,
believe she's like her family's involved in it. That's someone who's gonna grow and get better, and she was already good. So it's gonna be good to see, especially if we fight again. That's gonna be crazy. It's hard not to respect somebody if you went to decision with them and they gave you some problems, you gave them some problems. Like it's hard not to respect somebody after that. Of course,
yeah.
I respect everybody, even people who have beat me or people that I beat. So
I think that's healthy. And Natalie, I want to ask you a little bit, just kind of taking a step back. What are some of the hoops that you have to go through to get an opponent? Like, I have heard some wild shit in talking to Mariah and in talking to Ashley. Um, Getting a fight is very difficult. It's especially if you're on the smaller end. If you're 115 pounds, in your case, you just fought at 105 pounds. How hard is it for you? Like, do you have to be open? Like, how do you and your coaches like go into the whole looking for a fight aspect?
yeah, it is tough. It's been really tough in the past. I think like a lot of, and also like going pro now, I think I've fought a lot of the girls locally who are good at least. There are certain girls that I haven't fought from around here, but I prefer to have girls with better records, and stuff like that. Like ideally, like I don't want to fight somebody like 0-3, 0-4, because like
Right.
what does that look like for me if I beat them? Like it's not that big a deal. So I I want to try to, like, I'm a little picky in that way, and I
Right.
want to fight at 105. I think I do better at a lighter weight, at least for right now, until like maybe I develop and get a little bit bigger in a couple years or something.
Sure.
But yeah, it is really tough. Like right now, I'm looking for a fight. It's tough finding an opponent, but for right now, like I have Coach Shorty. He's been doing a great job of just like finding out about girls around our area, because like right now, let's say I have one pro fight, right? We want to fight anybody, like experience level wise, we want to fight anybody from like 1 to 3 fights. We don't want to fight some girl who has 10 pro fights already, because that's just like, I don't want to, like, I want to play things the smart way. I want to take it on as I go, and I want to fight people my level, not people who are like either way less experienced than me or way more experienced than me. It can
Absolutely.
go both ways. So it's tough, but like right now, Coach Shorty's come up with like, we've got like the names of 3 girls right now who have like decent records, maybe 2 3 fights, and they're pro and they're smaller weights, and then we'll just like contact a promotion and be like, hey, first of all, we got to find out when the promotions are putting on shows, because right now I'm looking for a fight in January, but the only promotion we know about so far in January is just like one promotion I don't want to say, because like I don't know if they've announced it yet.
Yeah.
So like there's only one that I'm aware of in January so far. So we're looking for like other promotions, but basically we'll just go to them and be like, can, like, we're looking for a fight at 105, contact this girl, give them their name, we want to fight her, or we want to fight her. We'll give her like a couple girls to pick from, and hopefully they want to put it on, because a lot of promotions want to put on like more experienced bigger guys, especially in pros. Like amateurs, it's like I was a good fight to put on in amateurs because I had a lot of experience and I had been around the block, so it was like, oh yeah,
Right.
like put her on the card. But now that I'm 1-0 and only have one pro fight, it's like I'm not that experienced. I'm not like a hot ticket yet where it's like, yeah, let's put her on the card. So it's like also like selling tickets, like they look at that. So like if you don't sell a lot of tickets, they don't want to put you on the card. They're not gonna, make a lot
Right.
of money off of you. So if you can sell over like 50 tickets or something like that, like that's better than like just 20 tickets. So they look at that too to put you on the card. So it's tough. You gotta have everything figured out in a lot of different areas. But for right now, I'm just really trying to push a fight in January. I don't want to wait till February because we were trying to find a fight in December. Now we're trying to find one in January. I don't want to wait till February, but there are a couple cards I've heard about in February. So I was just like hoping these girls take a fight with me, and then it aligns. Sometimes it aligns, and like I have to be patient. In the meantime, I have to stay consistent in the gym, even though I don't have a booked fight, which is one of the hardest things to do. I think for anybody is to like, because everybody's like, oh, just train like you're in camp, even when you're not in camp, and it's like it's not that easy to go
Right.
100% all the time, especially when you don't know. It could be 3 months from now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, and if I'm going 100% that whole time, that's crazy. Like I'm gonna burn myself out. I don't have that. I can't do that for many years, so
There's no such thing as like going beast mode all the time. That's something you have
yeah,
to turn on. Like,
yeah,
if you're going beast mode all the time, are you really going beast mode all the time? No,
exactly. You
you're
have
not. That's a
to.
that no. It's like
It
it's
takes away from it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like there are people that say that like, oh, like I go hard every day. If you're going hard every day, then you're not going hard every day.
yeah. It's almost.
I mean, that let's just be real. Like, it's like I know you have to say certain shit to like hype
Yeah,
up a fight, or you're getting ready to fight, so you got to put out something hard for your podcast or whatever. I get that, but it's like
yeah.
nobody is like full throttle the entire time. Like, if they say they are, that's just not true.
You have to be
We're
wearing down somewhere. Yeah,
because that's how you're gonna get burned out, and more likely than that is you're gonna get hurt 100%. You are going to pick up an injury if you're going freaking balls to the wall every single day. It's
yeah,
stupid. It's not smart, and it's all about like being methodical. And it sounds like you're in really great hands with your coaches. It sounds like what like you have the template plan for any Ammy fighter to like try to emulate. Like, take the tough fights, look at the girls that you fought, and when you fought them, it's the perfect way to go about it. And that's why I got so excited when I saw these girls that you're fighting, how it gets progressively more difficult. You make a pro debut against another really difficult opponent. People are going to see Sandy and they're just going to be like, 0-1, whatever. But it's like, no, look at the girls that she fought in the Ammy scene. She blew through everybody. And for you to take that fight when you did, I think that just shows a lot about how good you really are. And what was driving the weight cut from 15 to 105? Like, I know you're like 5'2". I know you're not that big, but you're like pretty buff. Like, you're pretty jacked. So like,
yeah.
is that a tough 10 pounds for you? Because there really isn't a whole lot to cut to begin with.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty jacked. Like I like to lift a lot, which like my coach kind of doesn't like about me. Like
Right, right,
I just
right.
love lifting, but um, obviously when I'm closer to a fight, I don't lift as heavy. But it just was like I think I had 3 losses in amateurs, and I think all of them came when I was fighting at like 118.
Hmm.
Because in New Jersey and in I think it's PA as well, they'll tell you the weight class is 115, but it doesn't really matter if you come in like 3 pounds heavy or 3 pounds light. Like there's a range that you have to like weigh in at. So I think when I fought, I really forget, but I think when I fought my first fight, it was like 118,
Hmm.
and then when I fought Devin Estes twice and I lost twice to her, we were fighting around 115, like give or take a couple pounds. And
Hmm.
so that's where I would lose. And I was like, just realizing, like, man, these girls are so much bigger than me, or at least it feels like that. Like when I was in the clinch with Devin, it felt like she was huge to me. Like it was just like that. And I just knew the way my body type is, and I'm five, like you said, I'm 5'2", like I'm really short. I knew I was gonna have to go down to 105 when we went pro, so that's why I started taking fights around like 110, because
Hmm.
I wanted to. My coach really wanted me to do 105 before I went pro, but we did like catch weights because like we talked about, it's hard to find opponents, hard to
Right.
agree on weights. So I did what I could with what who I found, and then the cut to 105. Yeah, it's a little rough. Like I mean, it's not a big deal. Like I'm very disciplined to begin with, so as long as I know like I couldn't do it in 2 weeks. I probably couldn't do it in 3 weeks that well.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like if I have time where I know I'm gonna fight soon, I have a full camp, I could do it because I'm like pretty disciplined when it comes to what I eat and what I do and losing weight like over time, you know. Because when I'm at a camp, I'll be eating whatever I want. After a fight, I'll gain like I'll just be eating shitty food because I love to eat food, you know. But
Yeah, who doesn't?
exactly. But once I know I have a fight coming up, I'll be very disciplined and I'll lose weight
Right.
slowly over time, and then I'll make that final cut at the end like everybody does. And it was all right. It was interesting to see how I was, but I felt great. You know, I try to stay like high spirits the whole time we're doing the cut. We were like, I was outside in a sauna suit, like playing basketball and stuff, and like we just tried to do it as best we could, and it worked out, and everything went really smooth. And I think I'll be able to do it pretty well again. Because like if I fight at 115, I walk around like 118 to 120 at my heaviest. That's
Hmm.
crazy because I'm only cutting 5 pounds, if that, when I'm eating healthy. You know, so like those girls are gonna be so much bigger. They're definitely coming down from heavier than I am. So I don't want to run into like somebody who's a lot bigger than me and lose because of the difference in that.
Completely understand. And Nat, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Like, did you still feel really strong when you fought Sandy at that lower weight? Because it was your first time. So, like, when you think back at like fighting at 15 compared to 05, like, did you still feel strong, or like, did you kind of get tired a little quicker? Like, or did it not even make a difference to you?
No, it really didn't make that big a difference because I was fighting like when I fought Mariah, it was at 110, and then I went to 105, so it wasn't that big of a difference, and I felt good. I would just say the biggest difference for me was the time because we went from
Right.
3 minute rounds to 5 minute rounds. So I didn't know what that was like. Obviously, I trained 5 minute rounds in the gym all the time, but I at the same time I didn't know what that was gonna feel like with adrenaline, with a real fight. Like you're going 100% all fight. So I was a little nervous about that. I remember thinking like, if it comes down to it, I really need to dig it out if I get tired because five 3 minute or 3 5 minute rounds, 15-minute fight. I was like, that's a long time. If somebody gets tired, they're gonna get exposed. So I think a lot of my mind going into it was being a little nervous about the time difference, and I was like, okay, maybe I should try to like pace myself. Like when I first got that first takedown in the first round, and then she got back up, which is like, I kicked myself about that because I'm like, why did
Right.
I let her back up? Like I didn't let her, but I should have done more, you know. And I remember thinking in my head like, okay, we have a lot of time. Let's relax a little. You know what I mean? Like I was like, let's chill out. Let's not tire ourselves out a minute in. You know. So I just learning that and like getting used to that was a big difference for me, bigger than the weight cut, I think.
So what's like your plan? I know you're looking for fights and stuff right now. Like long term, is the plan to kind of like stick at atom weight? Would you go to up to straw for the right opponent? Is it just kind of like, well, it just kind of depends on who I have to fight? Like, what's your kind of mentality like when it comes to that kind of stuff long term?
For right now, I do want to stay in atom weight at least for my next few fights. I think I would do better there. I think the girls at 115 are a lot bigger than me. I think they're heavier than me when they walk around. I
Sure.
know that. I train with girls who fight at 115, and I know they're heavy. They're a lot heavier than me. They have like when we're in the off season, they'll have like 10, 15 pounds on me. So like I don't want to do that just yet. But at the same time, the thing about fighting atom weight is that a lot of big promotions don't have atom weight.
There's
Like
only one that I know of.
Invicta.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't Bellator do atom weight sometimes?
I don't know. I don't. Not that I know of. I
I know
don't.
one of my buddies who fights at 105 fought for them. So I don't know. I gotta do more research. I should know this, but I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
do.
yeah. I like. I'm almost positive. Like, at least as of right now, I don't know about like from the past or whatever, but at least as of right now, they do not have a atom weight division.
Yeah. So I mean, if like let's say I'm 105 and I'm doing really well, the only reason I would see myself going to 115 would be because I want to fight in the bigger promotions.
Right.
Like obviously can't have UFC dreams when UFC doesn't have your weight class, you know? So
Right. Right.
it's really a bummer, but it is where I should be based on my body type. So it will be a challenge when I if I eventually go to 115.
Well, I think it just shows. At least have a conversation about, is it worthwhile like having additional weight classes? Like in the UFC is a good example. So like 145 It's worthless. Like as far as the UFC is concerned, there's no point. There's no point in having a 145 class. So get rid of it. And they've already talked about getting rid of it anyway. So get rid of it and then replace that with like 110 pounds. Like why not?
Yeah.
Why not scale it a little bit? Like why not include like 110 pounds and then like 165 pounds? Why not? Like those are the two I would add.
Right. And like I totally get that for women. Like I think the higher the weight, the almost like the more boring the fights are cuz they're a little slower, you know, like at 155, 145, like girls are a little bit like it depends how athletic they are, you know, but then
Right.
you'll see like a little bit slower, a little bit more boring fights whereas when you're at 105 and you watch like people in Invicta 105, they're like powerhouses, just little and going fast, and it's interesting because they're going fast, you know, and like I just think because they've talked about men like the 125 division for men being canceled out, I worry that they're never gonna put a 105 division in higher promotions because they think it's gonna be like boring like that, you know. But I not that men in 125 are boring; they're definitely not. But I just know there's conversations like that, and like that makes me think they would think the same thing about women, where I actually think it's the opposite. I think the bigger the women are, the more boring it is because they're slower and they're not like as athletic, you know. When you look at 105, it's like, man, these girls are ripped, they're fast, they're throwing punches. Like it's I think it's an exciting weight class, so I think it's obviously like one of my biggest dreams is to shed more light on it, be that good that people can't really deny it anymore as like, oh wow, this is a cool, like kind of like how Ronda Rousey brought women in the UFC. It was like, okay, she's really good, we can't deny women are bad at fighting anymore, you know.
And anyone who says that, wow, watch Invicta and you'll change your mind real quick.
Yeah.
Like I love Invicta. I love. I'm a huge fan. I love watching their cards. I think they do an excellent job. The fights are really entertaining. They have a really good range of athletes. It's a great promotion. Like I wish people talked about it more. I love it.
Yeah, no, Invicta's great. And like even the 105ers, like they have a lot of finishes, you know, it's not ever like it's not like just because they're smaller they don't get knockouts. Like it's they those girls are vicious. They knock each other out.
I would be really happy if you ended up there one day. It's a great promotion. I've had a few. No, how many people from Invicta? Two. Miranda Maverick, because she fought in Invicta, and then I had Serena De Jesus, so she's in Invicta right now. Really cool ladies, and they had nothing but good things to say about the promotion. They really liked it there.
That's cool. Yeah, it is one of my goals to get in there, and like the next I want to do it by like maybe when I'm 20, by the time I'm 25 or when I'm 25, I'll give myself like another 2 years just to get a couple more fights. If I'm like if I could go like 3-0 or 4-0, like there's no I think like I'll have a good shot, you know, at them like
Oh,
wanting.
you will, because they're always going to look for people, especially atom weights. Like that's a tough. Without naming names, like I look at the 105 class in Invicta, and I already kind of did before I got on this with you, and was just kind of like, I'm pretty sure Nat could like take out that one, that one, that. Like I just start going up. I just start going off the list.
I think so too. I think
I
at least it would be interesting, you know. But
I think you're so good, and I think you're like me, and this is kind of a homer thing to say, but I've seen your fights. Like where I don't know if like I get a little worried is the right answer or the right way to like frame what I'm about to say, but it's like I want to see you fight these like bad girls, and I don't know how many of them left there are to fight
yeah.
in your area. Like I think you've kind of fought most of them already, and I think you're, you know, I want to see you go to Invicta and fight girls there.
Yeah, I mean, if I could win, you know, one or two more, I think Invicta would be like a cool next step. Like, I think my coaches want to keep it little local for now, you know,
Yeah,
local promotions, just so they don't try to expose me to too much at one time. Like, they don't want me to get nervous fighting on a bigger stage, things like that, you know. But I think if I do it proper by like getting one or two more wins, and then if they're interested in me, like, I do think that's definitely in the cards soon.
absolutely. So Zapatia, don't get too comfortable. We're gonna make it happen. Before I let you go, Natalie, first and foremost, I want to say I appreciate your time. I'm a huge fan of you, and I hope we can do this again. But I know that there are a lot of people that you have in your corner. I know that there are a lot of people that work with you to make sure that you are good to go and ready for action when you do fight. So, who are those people? Who are the people that support you, whether they're sponsors or friends or teammates, anything like that, that people need to know about?
Oh yeah. Okay. So obviously the first one is Coach Shorty, Sean Santella. He's been big part of my career. I Since he's been one of my head coaches, I haven't lost, so and he helps me so much. I've learned so much under him. It's incredible. We've gotten really close, and I love that like we are able to work so well together. He's one of my favorite people to work with. My coach James Meals. He's been my head coach since the start, pretty much since my second amateur fight, and he's always seen potential in me, which is so nice and great. And like he's always had confidence in me, which made me help me form my confidence in myself. So he's given me my home gym, my place to train. He's one of the best people I know by far. My coach Jeff is my strength and conditioning coach, Jeff Sheck. I've been working with him for since COVID hit, so I think almost like over a year, maybe around almost 2 years coming up on. He's made me more athletic, more he's the best strength and conditioning coach I've ever had. Like made me feel so great in fights to the point where like I used to be real jacked and get real slow and tired, and now he's helped me so much with like agility and balance and things like that like I'm just better athlete in general, and I feel a lot better in fights. I haven't ever since I started working with him, I have not gotten tired in a fight yet. So that's huge. And then I have a lot of training partners that I work with. I have let me see. I have all right, Liz, Melissa, Petey, De Luisa, Patty, Tyler, Joey, David, and then from Catones, I work with a lot of people there. I love Sarge, Vinny, Billy, Sam, all those people. If I forgot you, I'm sorry. I really don't know. But I just work with so many people, so many great people that I feed off of and love to train with. So